Welcome to the second part of Enslaved People Who Escaped from Upstate New York. Again, this is the Sankofa bird, and Sankofa is a Twi word, comes to us from West Africa, Ghana, and the word means go back and take what is at risk of being left behind. And what is at risk of being left behind for us is history. So for the next few minutes, I'll tell you about over 20 odd enslaved people who escaped. And one of the themes that stood out for me was the use of clothing as a tool of liberation, because our enslaved ancestors had to wear clothing to point out, hey, I'm not enslaved. When they were escaping, they wanted to look free, and clothing was a part of that, gave them status. I think we still do that today. We're still a people who love to dress up and love to look good, and there's nothing wrong with that. My only concern is that we pay attention to the cost to the environment, as well as that we're supporting people who love and support us as well. And further down in the video, close to the end, you'll see the two last individual, they had a special kind of accessory, so you have to stay around to know what that accessory was. So now we're back in 1758, and not only were Black people enslaved in the US, indigenous people were as well. So our first person is Kate of Westchester, and she ran away. The person's name was not provided who she ran away from. Kate was 15 years old, indigenous girl, small size with curly hair. So Kate escaped when they gave her a pass for 1 week to go visit her previous master, and she did not return. Good for Kate. Kate had this ugly iron collar around her neck when she left, and she ran away with male clothing because she was going to do some gender switch up so they would think she was a man. 20 shillings was offered for her return. Next, we have Phoenix of Albany County, ran away from Thomas and Benjamin Forsey. They were merchant. Phoenix was 26 years old, male, 5 feet 9 inches, had a disability with his feet and a speck on one eye. Left wearing striped flannel waistcoat, which is a vest. 20 shillings were offered for his return. Next up, Henry of Westchester ran away from an unnamed person. Henry was 23, a mulatto, a person of mixed race, 5 feet 8 inches, scar on the forehead. He was an excellent violin player. He left wearing a beaver hat, homespun brown coat. 20 shillings were offered for his return. We're up to 1759, and they're posting these things to have people return enslaved people. London of Westchester County ran away. London was a man, 30 years old, 5 feet 8 inches, had a few missing front teeth because there is no dentist for enslaved people, and a mark under one eye. Spoke good English. Again, good English. I don't care what kind of English they spoke, because this was forced on them and they were not being sent to school. He left in a blue coat with many other articles of clothing and wigs. So you know what London was going to do. He was going to switch up all the time so they couldn't keep up with him. 30 shillings were offered for his return. You're going to hear me saying a lot of Williams Bill running away from Westchester. They're all different people. Seem to have been a common name. This William ran away twice within a month from Dennis Hicks. Dennis Hicks couldn't get the point that William did not want to stay working as a slave. William was 20 years old, medium size, thin face with short hair, spoke good English, had a mole on the right side of his face near his nose, and with very large ears. I thought of the comedian Martin Lawrence when he said that. Left with a blue cloth flannel coat, sheepskin breeches, went on a journey but never came back, and pretended to be free, or walked in his God-given freedom. The first time they caught him, they placed him in prison, and then he escaped again. Great. 40 shillings for his return. Will of Westchester County ran away from Joshua Hertfield. Will was about 26, in great shape, medium built, and with a long face. He was born in Westchester and spoke good English. Left wearing a multicolored sleeveless jacket, 40 shillings for his return. Next up is Rob of Westchester County. Rob was 27, 5 feet 3 inches, with a hunched back. He left wearing a red jacket. Something was important to the enslavers about Rob. They offered £3 for his return. 20, we have unnamed male and female running away, and this enslaver was so bad that even a 13-year-old white girl ran away with them. His name was Major Edmund Matthews. The unnamed black male was short with dark complexion, spoke English and Dutch, and was a proficient laborer. Took expensive clothing when he left, such as pumps, ruffled shirt, and a damask waistcoat. Of course, he worked for it, he should have it. The woman was skilled at housework. Both had smallpox marks. £10 was offered for these two. Next was Peter of Westchester County, who ran away from Richard Barnes. Peter was 26 and described as sly and bold. I love that for you, Peter. Short and in good physical condition. He walked with his feet pointing out. They were really watching these people closely. He left in a felt hat, a new dark-colored woolen coat, layers of shirt. It appears that someone told his plans, and his plan was to join the army or travel abroad. 40 shillings were offered for his return. Next up is another Will of Westchester, and Will ran away from Joshua Hatfield. Will was 27, medium height, thin face, often sick with consumption, but they were still enslaving him. Left wearing a long coat, a jacket of 2 colors, black stockings, and pumps. 50 shillings were offered for his return. Next up is James of Dutchess County, and he ran away from Vanwyck. Someone called Vanwyck. James was about 22, and they describe him as well-made, walks with his head forward, speaks English with a low voice. Now come on now, Barry White. He left in a light blue coat, gray waistcoat, and a checkered woolen shirt. Looks hot. He went to Albany to enlist in the army, but was captured. Then he escaped again. 40 shillings for his return. We're up to 1760, and we meet Alias of Westchester, who ran away from Joshua Pell. Elce was a female, brown skin, attractive. They said she was pretty lusty, which means attractive, with smallpox scars. 40 shillings were offered for her return. Next up, we have Sarah, who went by the alias Jenny from Westchester block. Sarah was a mulatto or mixed black person. She was attractive, well-built. She left wearing what is called a Peniston petticoat and jersey. I don't know what that is, but it sounds spicy. She was all dolled up when she left. 40 shillings were offered for her return. Next up, we have Guy of Orange County, who ran away from Benjamin Tustin. Guy was 30, very dark skin, black velvet, 5 feet 2 inches, small scar on the forehead. I thought they might have been African tribal markings. He also spoke broken English, which is another clue that he just arrived from another country. He left wearing a mixed colored coat, white breeches, stockings, and good shoes, and new woolen hat. I think some of these people were mad because the people left with their good clothes. 1761. We see Bet of Westchester. She ran away from John Ferris. Bet was an attractive 1/8 black. They called her a musty, which is another word for 1/8 black. She was mixed. She was about 40. Her legs were sore, always sore, so she limped. She walked in her freedom and told people she was free, and she spoke good English. She left wearing a striped cotton gown with petticoat, a pair of old leather shoes, and she brought wooden heels and black silk hat with her. 40 shillings were offered for her return. Next up, in 1762, we see Lucy of Westchester County running away from Caleb Morgan. Lucy was 26, medium built and attractive, spoke good English, left wearing a blue stuffed gown, petticoat, black hat or bonnet, cloak, and a colored broadcloth cloak. 40 shillings were offered for Lucy's return. Up next is Primus of Dutchess County. He ran away from Philip Fledger. Primus was 20, 5 feet 6 inches, well built, had black velvet skin, my words, and winked when he spoke. He spoke good English, low and high Dutch, and left wearing a homemade jacket, buckskin breeches, thick shoes, leggings. Something was important to them about Primus. They offered £3 for Primus. Next we have Pomp. What a nice name. Pomp of Albany County ran away from Andreas and Jonas Huke. Don't know how to say those white names. Pomp was born on Long Island, was 28 years old, 6 feet tall, dark complexion, had a few poxmarks, recently sold to these two last people, left wearing an old blue large coat, half-worn shoes, coarse shirt. £3 or $3 were offered for him. Next up is Robbin of Westchester, who ran away from the constable, but was owned by Dr. Thomas Wright. So it appeared the constable caught him after he ran away, and he ran away from the constable. Robbin was in Westchester, was 28, medium built with square shoulders, thin face, scar on the left hand, corn toes because of some kind of work he was doing. Well dressed. When he left in a gray ratteen coat, black velvet stockings, and a felt hat. That brother was slaying. But more interesting to me, he left with 2 guns, a long pistol and a regular gun. He was not playing. He wanted to be free. It is believed someone wrote a fake pass for Robbin, and he was given a reward based on the location. If they caught him within the Five Nation tribe, a place it seemed people often ran away to, £5 for that, because I suspect it would be hard to get him out of the hands of the indigenous people. If it was other counties, 20 shillings. Then my favorite and the last one is this 3, and I'm thinking of making a drink. It's a couple and an unnamed boy. Jack, gin, and an unnamed boy. So the juice would be Jack, gin, and juice. And they ran away from Crawl Tall. Can't say that. Jack was 36, 6 feet tall, left wearing a white French coat, leather jacket, a pair of blue cambay breeches, and trousers. And it was accessorized with a gun. Yep, you heard me. And Jin was 6 feet. Sorry, Jin was 5 feet 6 inches, just about my height. 35. She left in a holland short gown, petticoat, and they took a 3-year-old child with them. I see love in that relationship, and I see them wanting to protect that child. £5 were offered. Join me tomorrow for the next installment. Thank you.